This was my home.
Nelson Mandela shows former US President Bill Clinton the place where he was known only as a number, prisoner 46664. The apartheid government used its Robben Island prison to strip inmates of their liberty and the ID numbers to deprive them of their identities.
Robben Island is a vital part of South Africa's collective heritage. Secreting the island, a place of pain and punishment for centuries, and now of triumph.
In 2003, and in typical Mandela fashion, the aging statesman turned his prison number from a form of oppression into a tool for activism. He ordered his foundation to use the number to help market concerts to raise awareness of AIDS. And then it became a commercial brand in its own right. Mandela instructed his foundation to turn the number into a fashion label to help finance its humanitarian projects.
The number is actually, derives from Mr. Mandela's prison number 466, and he was incarcerated in 1964. And that number was set up as a means of almost dehumanizing an individual in prison. And I think as Mr. Mandela does, is he takes something that is just so negative and he created something so positive from it.
And so a line of shirts was born. The designer clothes were produced locally in keeping with his commitment to develop South Africa. For Nelson Mandela, the idea of turning his prison number into a commercial brand wasn't just about raising money. It was also about finding a very modern way of keeping his ideas alive. But Nelson Mandela was also very clear in his instructions. The brand had to reflect his core principles. Nothing cheap, nothing exploitative, everything dignified and colourful.
He stood for, and prisoner number 46664 stood for social change, stood for justice, stood for a better humanity as such. So what he's done is that when he gave his number and he said, let's find a way to use it, it should stand for something. And that's what it should stand for, all those ideals.
Designer Craig Native was given the job of turning those abstract ideals into T-shirts. He did it by digging for inspiration in the Mandela archive.
It's one of the days where the press were allowed on the island, and that day, they never looked like that normally. Yeah. And he was dressed up quite suave, having to hold a shovel. So then we decided, because we can't use this image, we decided just to use the shovel.
So there's no image of Nelson Mandela in your designs?
No.
It's just symbols surrounding?
Very much so. He really wanted us to epitomize what it meant to fight the fight.
Whether it was for his ideas or his dress sense, Nelson Mandela always stood out. With his prison number, he did both. Peter Greste, Al Jazeera, Cape Town.